Hi. Hola.
Hi, here's Mr. Dozy.
This is Michael Bradley.
Hey, I'm Memphis.
Hey.
Hola. Hello.
I'm here with soccer.com.
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 And I'm talking with my friends soccer.com.
See you soon.
Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my first look plus on-feet video of the brand new laceless Adidas Ace 17 Plus Pure Control. Now, along with the shoes inside the box, you do get a couple of extras. They include a black shoe horn, being that this is the laceless model. You got it with the original 16 Plus as well. They include an extra set of what's listed as comfort insoles, but these are actually the thinner insoles, aside from the boost ones already included in the shoes. We'll get a look at those a little bit later, but pretty straightforward insole perforations through the front half, mesh liner on top, single layer of foam. Just a standard insole really. And then you of course get a string bag, which is a black mesh material with black strings, and it has the Adidas and Ace logos there on the front. So aside from all the extras, you of course get the shoes themselves, which I have right here. The second generation of Adidas's laceless Pure Control model. And honestly, there's some interesting changes that they've made. The end result is a shoe that isn't as different as I think a lot of people are perhaps expecting it to be. But of course, in today's video, we're going to be going over all of the details as far as tech specs, changes in comparison to the 16 Plus model. We're going to take a look at the weight of the shoe, as well as take a look at how these things fit and feel on feet. So if you are interested in learning more, stick around and watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, there'll be a little pop-up on screen, or you click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $300 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, pop up on screen, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's go over all of the technical details of the 17 Plus Pure Control. Now, if you guys have seen any of my content on the Ace 16 Plus Pure Control, you know that it's a shoe that I was pretty highly critical of for various different reasons. If you guys aren't familiar with kind of my opinion on the 16 Plus, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen to my playtest video where I talk about the things I really like and I talk about the things that I'm not so crazy about. Now with the 17 Plus, they've made some changes that I think are perhaps for the better, but much of this shoe is very, very similar to that original 16 Plus model, which I happen to have right here, and we'll kind of be going back and forth comparing the two throughout this particular section of the video. So starting off with the upper, what you can see on the outside is a prime knit material. You can see it's majority covered in this polyurethane material with the non-stop grip dots over top of that. And then you do have the exposed elasticated piece here running through kind of the middle of the shoe. It's pushed slightly to the medial side as we saw it here on the original 16 Plus, where again, it's fully elasticated. So this outside piece, I will say, the prime knit material itself, it's a lot softer and it's a lot more flexible feeling than what we got from the original Pure Control, which I think is definitely a good thing. You can see they've added a little bit of kind of this line pattern on both sides of the forefoot here, mainly just for looks and to add a little bit of texture. As far as actual touch on the ball, it actually doesn't feel that much different from what we got from the original Pure Control. I would just say it's a little bit less plasticky feeling, if that makes any sense. Now, underneath that, this is not just a straight up prime knit upper. What you're going to find is that the entire inside of the shoe is lined in this kind of synthetic suede material that does add a lot of structure to the shoe, and that covers pretty much the entire inside, aside from the forefoot toe box area where it's a little bit more of just a padded lining material, which is partially why this part of the upper does feel so soft. So you have the prime knit upper, you have the top layers that I talked about, you have the internal suede lining, you also have this reinforcement piece where the Adidas stripes are located that's actually identical to that of the original. I know it looks a little bit different just because of the stripes being slightly shorter, but it's the exact same pattern. And essentially what this is kind of a harder plastic material. It's still got some flexibility to it, but it's there to add rigidity to the lateral sidewall of this upper as it runs from the base of the sole and kind of, like I said, just acts as a reinforcement piece for what is kind of a high stress zone on this particular shoe, which it needs to have some kind of reinforcement because of the laceless system. Speaking of the laceless system and the way this works in general, Basically, you have 2 layers of material here across the top of your foot. This elasticated prime knit, which you have right here, that's basically just covering the upper up and kind of sealing it. It's not really providing all that much in terms of lockdown, if you will. On the inside though, that's where you're gonna find the internal TechFit support system. And this is a difference in comparison to the original 16 Plus PURECONTROL. Basically what's happening, and it's very difficult for me to show you guys just because it's kind of dark in there, but you get an idea if you're familiar with the original PURECONTROL. Basically what's happening here is there's a piece that runs from here up down the middle and then kind of covers the side. So there's kind of an internal cage that wraps your foot. It's elasticated. On this shoe, the 16 Plus, that was entirely made out of prime knit. On this shoe, it's a synthetic material that is a little bit more structurally sound. You can see it right there. I'm not sure exactly what you would kind of describe this material as, but it's slightly elasticated and it does do a pretty good job of holding your foot in place. It's not uncomfortable in any way at all, but it is going to do a better job of what we got from the 16 Plus model in terms of holding your foot in place inside of the shoe. That's really the major change that you're gonna find coming from the 16 Plus, aside from the slight difference in the prime knit upper that, like I said, does feel a little bit softer and a little bit more flexible to me. As far as the thickness of the upper is concerned, it's pretty much on par with the 16 Plus. Not too thick, not too thin. But again, it's not just straight up prime knit. There's several layers of material, and because of that several layer kind of construction process, it doesn't necessarily have that kind of super thin, almost sock-like sensation that I think a lot of people perhaps would expect from this style of shoe. On the medial side, they've left it pretty much completely clean, like we saw on the 16 Plus as well, so no major changes there. You do get a pretty consistent touch across the entire upper, which is nice to see. You get the pull tab that is attached to basically this top prime knit piece, as well as the bottom of the loop attached to that internal TechFit support piece, then the pull tab on the back. You can see it does maintain the same kind of mid-cut design. This is what they call their prime cut collar, where essentially it's just an extension piece. This doesn't really wrap your ankle tightly. It's not necessarily supposed to. It's there more so for looks. Doesn't necessarily need to be this high. And then internally, you're gonna find that the construction is pretty well the same in the heel area. It's a synthetic suede material with pretty much the same amount of padding. They didn't really change all that much. And we'll talk about the general fit and kind of quirks to the laceless system a little bit later in the video. The insole though, that's where things are changed a little bit. Same thing goes for the bottom, where you can see there's this clear window exposing some boost foam. And this is something that I was particularly excited about. Boost foam, something that's very popular for Adidas right now in their running line. And they have incorporated 6 millimeters total of boost foam with this shoe, between what's in the shoe on the base of the sole plate as well as the insole. So the insole plus that base equals out to 6 millimeters of total boost foam. You can get a look at it right here. It kind of looks like styrofoam, but essentially it's these small little capsules that are very, very kind of bouncy, I guess is the best way to describe it. They compress and then bounce back to shape almost immediately. It's a very resilient foam. The problem, this is just upon kind of a first try on, this may change after kind of running around in them for a little bit, but what I really found is that when I put these on, they didn't really feel kind of particularly well cushioned. It's just not enough boost foam in my opinion to really make that much of an impact. So you do have it here with the insole. It's very, very thin. Essentially it's just one layer of those boost foam balls, where normally it would be like 10 to 20 layers in a running shoe, which is kind of what creates that really bouncy effect. And then you have one more layer at the bottom. So I'll show you the one with the insole removed. It does run through the heel and forefoot area, but then all the way inside the shoe, you can see that black piece pretty much at the midfoot, cutting off right about here. There is a plastic piece on top of all the foam in the forefoot, so you don't necessarily get the feel of the boost in this area from the sole plate, only from what you're gonna find in the insole. So in comparing it to some of the insoles that we've had from Under Armour in the past that I thought were really good, made it of the Micro G foam and the 4G foams, I thought those were really, really good in terms of underfoot cushioning. Didn't necessarily get that super cushion sensation from this particular boost foam setup, but I definitely do think it's a good idea, and I'm curious to get a little bit more time in it to see if it does have any significant impact, because like I said, out of the box, it didn't really feel that different to me. As far as the actual outsole is concerned, it does have a little bit of a different construction. It's still a sprint frame though, so you get the external heel counter all one piece with the sole plate itself. They've changed the stiffener bar a little bit, mainly for the sake of, I think, the boost foam. So it's a little bit thicker than what you're gonna find on the 16 Plus PureControl, which isn't super noticeable when the shoe is on your foot. Stud pattern though remains the same. It is what they call their Ground Control 3.0 stud pattern. Really the only thing that's noticeable aside from the stiffener bar as a difference is you can see the base of the studs right here is more of a hexagon shape as opposed to being perfectly round like you'll find on the previous generation of Ace shoes. So other than that, there really isn't a difference here. It is an FGAG stud pattern, so it does work pretty well on firm natural grass and artificial grass. Pretty straightforward though. It's what we've been seeing from Adidas for a couple of years now. So if you've used this stud pattern on previous generation Adidas or Ace models, you kind of know what to expect in regards to traction. So that's pretty much it in terms of tech specs and really what's going on here with the 17 Plus PureControl. Again, it shares a lot of similarities to that of the 16 Plus model. A little bit of a different look, but a lot of the same elements. Again, we're going to talk a little bit more about the overall fit and I guess the quirks of the laceless system a little bit later during the on-feet portion of the video. In terms of weight, I thought we'd compare the 16 Plus to the 17 Plus, given the design changes, to see if there's any significant weight difference between the two. So I'm going to weigh both shoes for you today in real time using this scale. Keep in mind they're both the exact same size 9 US and both in brand new condition. So this is a very fair comparison. We'll start off with the 16 Plus PureControl, throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.9 ounces, the equivalent of 223 grams. So just under the 8 ounce mark, a relatively lightweight shoe, all things considered. We'll pull these off and we'll throw on the 17 Plus model, and you can see that they weigh in at 8.7 ounces. So you're talking about a 0.8 ounce weight difference, these being a little bit heavier than the previous generation, 246 grams. It's not a huge weight difference. It's somewhat noticeable in hand, a lot harder to tell on feet, but it is worth noting that the 17 Plus does weigh almost a full ounce more than the 16 Plus model. Is this a deal breaker if you wore the 16 Plus and didn't want a shoe that weighs any more than that? Not necessarily. Again, the weight difference I think is pretty minimal, but it is, like I said, worth noting that you're trending towards 9 ounces with the 17 Plus versus being at the 8 ounce mark in the 16 Plus. As far as aesthetics and just the new design of the PureControl in general is concerned, I actually think these look quite good. My main issue that I had with the 16 Plus is that the laceless system, they almost just left it like it should have had laces in terms of how the shoe looks. This has more of kind of a flowing design where it looks like they incorporated the laceless kind of elasticated aspect into the look of the shoe, which I just think looks a lot cleaner. I like this particular launch colorway with the black toe and then the red throughout the rest of the upper. I think it's pretty clean design overall. You got the Ace branding, it says control skin, non-stop grip. And then of course the PureControl in white there going down the back, which I think looks pretty cool as well. The Adidas stripes are in this kind of metallic silver, almost chrome finish with the black outline. And then the sole plate, it does come with a little warning sticker letting you know that the finish is going to wear off. You have the metallic black at the front, which transitions in the midfoot to that nice bright red color that actually has this kind of paint stroke effect when you get up close on it, which is actually a pretty neat thing. As far as how quickly that finish is going to wear away, based on my experience with other shoes featuring this wearable sole from Adidas, it's not something that wears away that quickly, but it really does depend on your specific situation, the ground that you're playing on, and I guess the weather conditions as well. But overall, pretty cool looking shoe. I really like this particular launch color as well, but let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a little bit of a better idea as to how these shoes fit, feel, and of course what the sizing is like. Alright, so here is a look at the Ace 17 Plus PureControls on feet, and there's a few very noticeable changes from the first time you put these on in comparison to the 16 Plus. The first is the fact that they have tweaked the shape a little bit. This does seem to be ever so slightly wider through the midfoot and especially in the forefoot area. And the upper itself, like I mentioned earlier as well, does feel a bit more flexible and just softer in general. It doesn't have that kind of super rigid, almost plasticky sensation that you got from the original PureControl. Once you broke in the 16 Plus, really wasn't much of an issue in regards to the rigidity of the shoe. But like I said, out of the box, this shoe does feel a little bit softer, especially in the forefoot toe box area with that prime knit upper. You're also going to notice that because of the tweak shape, it does fit a little bit more streamlined, at least on my foot, right here in kind of the midfoot area on the medial side, where I would have some kind of pinching and kind of folding spots within the upper on the 16 plus. Don't necessarily have that here on the 17 plus. In regards to the overall fit and lockdown, because of the laceless system, it does feel pretty similar to me. Because of the laceless system and really not having much force pushing your foot down into the base of the sole and your heel down into the base of the shoe, there is a lot of pressure in the heel area. It feels very, very stiff, and that's a pressure that isn't necessarily going to go away, just because, again, the laceless system doesn't allow for any kind of significant amount of force pushing your foot into the base of the sole and locking it in place. You have all the structure on the sides and really nothing on the top. So your foot constantly wants to come up. And while this new internal kind of compression fit material does do a little bit of a better job than just straight up prime knit in terms of locking your foot in place, the same general issue that I had with the 16 plus is still present here with the 17 plus. Basically, with this laceless system, you lose any adjustability and you lose a significant amount of lockdown that laces would normally provide. So as to how these will fit and feel on your feet is really something that you have to try on for yourself and determine whether or not you like how they feel from there. If you like them, give them a try. If you don't like how they fit, there's really no way to adjust it. You lose all adjustability as well with this laceless system. So I would say for those who really like a super tight fit as well, not the best option for you. Again, you kind of have to just try them on to see how they fit you specifically, because of this laceless system, it's going to have a different fit and feel for pretty much everybody. As far as the width of the shoe is concerned, like I said, it does seem to have a slightly wider feel in comparison to the 16 plus. Still not a super wide fit, and not really a shoe that's going to stretch all that much either. So in terms of width, I'd say they'll fit most people, but if you have really, really wide feet, maybe not the best option for you. And as far as sizing is concerned, the sizing seems to be the same as the original. I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here. And if you are looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size. So again, a little bit of heel pressure, not the greatest lockdown, but I was kind of expecting that with a very similar laceless system. And again, that's kind of what the laceless system has on offer. It's really going to be super dependent on how the shoe fits you specifically. And if it doesn't fit you right, it's really not something that's ever gonna feel exactly the way you want it to. You put them on, that's the way it's gonna feel for the entire lifespan of the shoe. All right, guys, that is it for my first impressions plus on-feet video of the new Ace 17 Plus PURECONTROL. Look out for more content on this shoe, as well as the rest of the new Ace 17 lineup in the very near future on this channel. If you guys are interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can either click the little eye in the corner of the screen or the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $300 retail price. If you have any questions regarding this shoe, leave them down below in the comments and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.